Hi, everyone. My name is Yogesh Chavda, and thank you so much for joining us today on our last live broadcast for this podcast for 2025. I am absolutely delighted to have a special guest today on our final show for the year, Dr. Lyubov Ruchinskaya. Hi, Lyubov. How are you?
Thank you so much for having me. It's extremely. I'm extremely thankful for this opportunity because I can also congratulate everyone with the beginning of the festive season, because I think that we already have in the air a little bit of the magic, even though that we have to close lots of things and it's getting crazy and crazy. But in the end of the next week, I think that we're going to release all the pressure and focus on our family and friends and, a little bit of a time off.
Absolutely, absolutely right. So, I know you're a very busy person, and I know you're calling all the way from Europe for this live show. So, first of all, thank you for doing that. Before we go too far down, our conversation today, I thought what we could do initially is just have you spend a couple of minutes introducing yourself. What's your background? How did you get to where you are? I know you're the founder of Insights Lighthouse. I definitely want to spend time talking about that today to give people an understanding of what you're doing. But give us a sense of, what's your background and how did you get to where you are today? Let's start with that question first.
My name is Lyubov. I'm doing insights for the last 22 years. I started on the agency side many years ago, and I stayed for nearly 6 years before I got adopted by Colgate family. So I stayed with Colgate for nearly 14 years, working and living across different geographies. Then I joined Electrolux at the leadership role, and then I moved to Diageo to be part of the business transformation. So that's my journey in a nutshell. So predominantly on the insights part. I
Hmm.
love insights, and I believe that insights industry is at the stage of transformation.
Hmm.
So obviously requires certain care. That's why 2 years ago, together with my friends and colleagues, we have started this project that is called Insights Lighthouse, and it's a community that unites corporate executives working on the client side,
Hmm.
predominantly 500 Fortune organizations, predominantly 500 big, large organizations, successful companies. And the project is delighted to give the light to people who stays behind the scenes and drive the business transformation and unlock the growth.
Wow, amazing. So we're going to talk a lot about Insights Lighthouse, but before we do that, I have one more follow-up question about you and your background. You said you lived in multiple countries. Can you give us a sense of everywhere you've lived?
I'm originally from Russia, and
Mhm.
I lived in Africa, in Lagos. I lived in Turkey, in Istanbul. I moved to Switzerland, to Basel, where I was residing for the last 10 years. And for Electrolux, I was working in Sweden, in Stockholm. And for Diageo, there are two major offices in Hamburg and in Amsterdam. So it gives me a global exposure, and I did several assignments in US, in New York. So I
Mhm.
did several short-term assignments. So I was moving there for short-term assignments, as well as I finished my MBA in California. So lived a little bit everywhere. So
Amazing, amazing. Well, you and I actually share three places that we share in common. The US is one, of course. The second is Switzerland, and the third is Turkey. I also lived in Turkey for a couple of years in Istanbul, so I did not know that about you. So there you go. So I would consider you to be what's called a third culture kid in that sense, where you've been to so many places where you've got that superpower of knowing how to transition between different kinds of cultures. I would imagine.
yes, it gives you the perspective and it gives you the background. I think that opportunity to live and experience other cultures gives you tremendous opportunities to understand the business and the people better, and particularly for people who work in strategy and insights and the data transformation.
Mhm.
Uh, Experience the culture is the fundamental thing.
Absolutely right. That's absolutely right. So, like I said, we'll talk about Insights, Lighthouse in a couple of minutes. But before we do that, I want you to kind of like, level set us, when you reflect now for this past 12 months in terms of, the state of the industry overall. the insights industry in particular. I'm talking about that specifically. What are your top level thoughts in terms of what you've seen happen this year, specifically in the context of the insights industry?
So unfortunately, I'm not seeing the positive changes because many companies announce the budget constraints and the crises and the layoffs that, of course, affected people and affected industry and brings not necessarily an optimistic point of view. And I see that some of my friends and colleagues, they're transitioning on the agency side.
Mm-hmm.
And contrary to the corporate professionals struggling to be part of the big businesses and advocating for the businesses at the time of the automation, businesses on the agency side are growing and striving. So I'm watching what Statista is reporting every year. So, and our industry equals $150 billion in revenue. So it's really tremendous, and we keep growing. So, but at the same time, when we look at the number of professionals at the leadership roles working on the corporate side, I would say, and this is my hypothesis, of course, I don't know the exact number, but I would say that maybe it's around 1,000 people. So it's very small community and it's shrinking down. So, and it's not happening because of AI. I think AI, it's a very positive change and it's automation that will release us from the chore and we're going to think and strategize our work in seconds. You know,
Mm-hmm.
what requires hours to finalize as a strategy, like corporate strategy. It requires hours and lots of consultants' involvement to strategize how you want to create the narrative and what is your vision and the mission and articulate it
Yeah.
with the care. It takes now seconds and it's still delivered by you, but with the help of AI assistants and with the help of AI consultants. But of course, it's changing the status game and yeah, there are transformation happening everywhere, particularly after COVID
Yeah.
when businesses experiences crisis, comparing their results with super cycle. And during COVID, many companies extended their teams, reinvested in certain part of the businesses. They now that now needs to be reimagined and re-strategized. That
Yeah.
affects people that have been hired during COVID.
Mm-hmm.
So to summarize, our community is getting smaller and requires support.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, no, I see the same thing as well. In fact, one of the observations that I've personally made is that AI actually exposes the flaws in any business process, right? It just does that because it's sequential, it's methodical, and in our world, every flaw that we've had from an insights workflow process, input process, and an output process, AI is exposing it in a big way. And I think uh, it's not because of AI, but I think what it's helped me at least kind of like clarify is that the quality of our output that we were giving our organizations was all over the map, quite frankly speaking, right? There were some people who were doing it really well, or some companies that were doing it really well, and there were some companies that were not doing it well, and that's now getting exposed in a big way. And I think because of that, I think that's the root cause of why companies maybe reducing the budgets, reducing the headcount, and AI is just adding to it, but it's not necessarily the driver of it, if that makes sense.
I think being digital requires investment, and it requires not fragmented investment, but the investment at the global scale.
Hmm.
And for the big giant organizations, it's massive expenses that needs to be committed for the long period of time with vision to receive return on investment in a couple of years. And
Hmm.
obviously, companies who are investing today, they're gonna be moving faster and more strategically and more efficiently. Uh, and of course, they would be the leaders on the market. However, the decision needs to be made today. So
Yeah.
that's obviously the challenge. But automation and AI is not the key root cause of the shrinking down community and insights and data analytics industry. I believe that there are many changes that start happening since 5 years ago, and not everyone was reactive to these changes. I believe when I started my career 20 years ago, 22 years ago, so we were working in the different conditions. So the world was different. So now we are going through the series of crises, COVID and the war. So there are lots of changes that affects the life and that requires resilience and a different way of thinking. So
Yeah.
20 years ago, so most of the companies, they were growing and they were investing and there was no pressure.
Hmm.
Particularly, there was no pressure on insights people.
Hmm.
We were searching for the new opportunities for the innovation
Hmm.
and defining the growth opportunities, but the business was growing in general. So it was easier to report the positive results. At the crisis, the strongest companies, they are succeeding, and the companies with the problems, they are losing, obviously. And
Yeah.
that's the point for insights people to step up and to drive the strategy moving forward and to
Hmm.
take the leadership role. But not necessarily all of us were at the leadership position 20
Hmm.
years ago. And now we have to take this leadership role. And I
Hmm.
believe that uh, because of the work that we are performing, some of us, like more quiet and try to find the comfort zone in the data and analysis, and not necessarily spending time and making a focus on advocating for the recommendations and trying to be at the forefront when you know um, the decisions are taken. So now you need to change the focus from delivering the results to advocating for your recommendations and
Hmm.
to move fast and
Hmm.
to be happy with 80% of robustness or even 20% of robustness of your analysis, and
Hmm.
to to do it now, not to wait and not to over perfect. And that requires a mindset shift. And those who
Yes.
are adjusting and embrace agility and speed, they are
Hmm.
successful. And those who are not doing that, unfortunately, they take more passive role. And of course, their capabilities and the impact is
Hmm.
compared with the agents and with the automation and yeah, yeah, obviously, it's very hard not to be replaced at the current conditions if you don't embrace the leadership.
I completely agree with you. And, in fact, there are two things that you said that resonate very highly with me. One is you don't have to be perfect, right? And there are a lot of people that I come across who are looking for precision and perfection. And it almost like a puristic mindset in terms of how we do our work. And quite frankly, that works really well in academia. It doesn't work in the business world because ultimately, business is about making money. Let's just be honest with each other, right? So, if you're going to be helping me make money, I'm going to keep you around. But if you're not going to help me make money, there's no value to me as an employer, right? So I think people need to kind of like whether they like it or not, but that is the reality for the most part, that you are there to help either other people make money or you're making money for yourself. So you have to decide which way you want to go, and then that'll determine the impact and the influence that you have within an organization, basically. But the second point that you also made around agility, which I also agree with 100%, is that you also have to think about how the landscape is shifting, not just externally, but also internally within the organization, because priorities change. It's a fact of life, right? So, are you reading the tea leaves? Are you able to sense when priorities are shifting, or there are multiple agendas being played out, and knowing how to navigate that? That's also part of an insights professional's job. And sometimes I feel that people don't see that. I remember when I was younger, I wasn't seeing it either. So, I learned it the hard way, but it had to be learned at the end of the day. It's a learnable skill. Is that something that you see, or are you experiencing? I'm guessing you are, right?
I think with the time, the expectations from the certain positions are changing, and the expectations 20 years ago was to deliver the synthesis and the reports and to
Mhm.
provide with the robust articulation, and we were
Yeah,
given time to do that. And
yeah,
it's very passive role, so and it's not resonating with me. So I want to be connected with the business and drive the business growth and drive the results and to advocate for the certain decisions and to
yeah,
be a trusted partner. So
yes,
obviously, during my career, I met great leaders who trusted me well, not to go into the details of my mathematical analysis, and they were just discussing with me their recommendations, and we were focused on that.
yeah,
Obviously, when you focus on how you reach to these results, you are losing the audience because your key partners, it's business leaders. And at the time of crisis, like we are living today, we need to focus on the action and
Hmm.
not like on the path. You have to think about what is the decision needs to be taken, what is the probability of success, and move forward and learn from it and fail fast. So that's the narrative, and the role is changing and the expectations are different. So I believe with the time of AI, we can automate qualitative research, we can automate quantitative research, we can use do-it-yourself platforms and to scale with the feedback we can get from people, and to
Hmm.
ensure that we are really people-centric when we are developing innovations or when we are taking the decisions how to communicate about our products and services. With that, it's not your work. This is no longer what you are delivering. So you are the one who is creating and orchestrating and
Hmm.
choosing the path and the approach how to handle all
Hmm.
these things. And you have to be focused on the actions for the business and for the value and for the revenue. So we all work, as you correctly noticed, in the very sales oriented environment and profit oriented environment, because without profit you cannot reinvest in the business and you cannot do beautiful projects. So if you look from that lens, that you have to drive profit to give back to the society and the planet and to be sustainable and to support minorities. So then it's very critical, and we have to be focused on that.
Absolutely, absolutely, and you know, I love the word you used, orchestration. Right, that's a skill set. Right, we don't talk about that as often, but the reality is that, you know, if you want to be an influencer, you know, you have to know how to orchestrate the organization, uh, and have them not only embrace the insight but also activate that insight through action across multiple functions. It's not just one function like marketing or sales. It's going to be also partnering with finance and R&D and, you know, supply chain, you know, maybe even legal in some cases if it's a, you know, if it's a highly regulated, you know, environment. You got to know how to you know, work through all those kinds of organization, those functional teams, and know how to influence, know how to, you know, show up so you can meet them where they are and help them kind of like work their way through that basically. So love that word orchestration. Maybe that should be our word for 2026 perhaps, I don't know, but something to think about. You know, so tell me something about next year as you're looking forward. I know we're now at the end of the year, you know, like you said in the beginning of the podcast, you know, where we have 1 week left and we go into family, you know, family and friends, and, you know, we wind down a bit. But I'm also suspecting that in the back of your mind you're also thinking about next year. What are the two or three signals that you're paying a lot of attention to about what could happen in the industry for next year?
Oh, I think that it's hard to predict the future.
Yeah, of
So
course.
it's impossible. So who could imagine the war happening between two countries in Europe? Who could imagine pandemic hitting us? So it's everything is possible. And talking about crises, I think it's a great opportunity for change, and
Hmm.
it puts us at the active role to drive this change forward. So it's an opportunity. So crisis, it's an opportunity. Most of the great companies, they were born because of the crisis, because there was a gap that was addressed with the new
Yeah.
products and services. So we can take this crisis as an opportunity and drive and strive. So that's what I'm advocating for, and that's why I never accepted the offers to move to marketing and to work more on the decisive part of the business. So I like to advocate for the certain decisions and to be responsible for the strategic vision and for the corporate strategy type of activities. And I think that it's an opportunity for insights professionals, particularly working on the corporate side, to grow their teams and to advocate for the change for the companies and to be brave and to be opinionated and to be loud in the room and to invite themselves to the key important meetings. So that's the opportunity. What's happening and what would be happening, I don't know, obviously, because the trajectory is much more pessimistic than what I want to have.
Yeah.
So many people are migrating to the agency side. So
Mhm.
there are more and more companies that are appearing on the market with the mimicking services and tools.
Mhm.
Technology is taking over. It's
Mhm.
gets very transactional because some companies they're very much focused on the technology, not on the way what type of value this technology is bringing. And it's very funny that our industry is a little bit, in my point of view, collapsing because we were historically talking about the strategy behind the point of parity, point of difference, the mission, the vision. And now the companies who were or the people or the experts in this field who were advocating for this are launching products and very fast want to democratize it and to introduce it to the market, not necessarily thinking about their strategic vision. And this is a big gap because every time when I meet with the new supplier or with the new company, and they have struggles to articulate what their differences
Mhm.
versus products already existing on the market, I would
Mhm.
would not have trust to work with them because how can they suggest on the business I'm at if they cannot start with their own business? And
Mhm.
I think we are in a super cycle, so there are lots of opportunities. AI gives opportunities for everyone to act and to be entrepreneurial and to produce new services and products. So next year, I believe it would be even more companies appearing with the new offers, and maybe we will see unicorns that would be growing super fast. But in 1 year and a half and the maximum 2 years, it would be cleaned up because
Yeah.
you can sustain the business without resources. You cannot sustain without orders, and orders are not guaranteed, right? So there would be, in my point of view, it would be slowing down in the number of offers. What happens on the client side, I don't know, because if we proceed with the way how we are operating and running the business on a very passive side, being afraid of cuts and laid offs, so most likely it happens. So if we step up and start advocating for the change for the business, not for ourselves, but for the business and bringing value for the business, I believe it's an opportunity for our group of people. And that's why I launched this project that is called Insights Lighthouse. And we
Yeah.
have different activities. We have activities of mentorship when one can mentor another, and it's absolutely complementary. And we have the new activity Learning Lab. You talked about education. We love collaboration with universities, but we need to bring experts who are doing things on a daily basis for the real businesses and to share their experiences, right? And to
Yeah.
merge the worlds, the practitioners and the people who can articulate these practices into the theory and to put it in a very good, very good synthesis and to provide us with the frameworks that can be repeated by many others. So it's synthesis of the two worlds in my point of view. So to summarize, I don't know what happens, but the dynamic is very hectic and it might be also kind of frustrating. So, but at the same time, it's an opportunity to change and advocate for change because when everything working well, so what can you do? So you have to comply with the rules and you have to do what have been done in the past, and it's extremely boring. So if you look from that perspective, now there is
Mhm.
opportunity to create new things, right?
Yeah. So to that point, right? There's like three or four things that I picked up in what you just said that I wanted to like just tease out a little bit. Let me start with the first point that you made. You never mentioned efficiency, but you didn't mention value, and I love that because if I look at what's the conversations have been over the last 2 years, especially in the context of automation and AI, the conversation has been almost exclusively about efficiencies, right? We can do it better, faster, not better, faster, cheaper, excuse me, right? So that's where the emphasis has been, in my opinion, when I look at what's been happening. But the better part has always been the elusive goal for vendors and also on the client side, quite frankly speaking, right? So what does that better actually look like? The value added piece of it, and to me, the ability to link it directly to revenue growth, profit growth, and you show a direct line to that, that's when you're showing that there is value that you're bringing to the organization. That's when you become indispensable because they see you as the person who's trying to actually generate incremental dollars for the organization. To your point earlier about if you have money, then you can reinvest it. Otherwise, you can't, basically, right? So for me, that mindset shift, I personally believe, has to be um, the call to action for next year with everyone. Whether you are embracing AI or you're not allowed to embrace AI or you're limited in terms of whether you're using AI, irrelevant. But that point in my mind is, I think, the starting point. Would you do you have different thoughts from me on this one, or are you seeing it differently than I am?
No, I totally agree with you that driving value is important and communicating value is critical, but it also requires the support top down. So we can do all the heavy lifting bottom up. We can
Hmm.
educate from the leaders. We can drive network opportunities and learn one from another and to share best case studies and
Yeah.
be brave and disrupt. But if there is no readiness from the top leaders and the C-suite executives of your organization, so it's
Hmm.
just wasting time in my point of view.
Yeah.
So insights leaders has to be supported and they need to be given space to
Yes.
advocate and probably it requires the branding of ourselves
Hmm.
because if we say research, we associate it with the tools and the
Hmm.
processes to make
Hmm.
these calculations. And when we focus on the tools and the processes and not the impact, it's not interesting for the business because there is no value. So we
Yeah.
need to rebrand ourselves and drive strategy and the vision and the
Hmm.
impact and to support taking the decisions like collective decisions, aligned decisions with a certain level of accuracy with like for forecast and accuracy of the forecasts and
Yeah.
to adapt and learn from it and we can bring this to the table, but I'm not sure that it's possible to say that okay, insights people gonna start doing that because there are lots of people from other departments with the different expertise who also can do that. So I
Yeah.
think a new space is emerging that would be called strategy and decision making or corporate strategy, and this space might attract great talents with the different backgrounds and
Hmm. Hmm.
there is no space for the project management because it's easy to automate. And I agree that it's possible to save on the automation and with automation and not to have many human resources to implement that.
Yeah. No, you're right. And I think, I started with the value piece deliberately because I think, we bring a unique value add that others cannot bring, but we have to lean into that to be able to influence the organization uh, with our unique expertise. Because you're right, like finance has their unique expertise, supply chain has theirs, etc. Everyone brings their unique expertise, but we also have ours, and we need to lean into that and be able to translate that into actionable impact into the organization at the end of the day. And I also agree, there was another point that you made earlier, which was around education. There was an article I just read this morning from Green Book. Aditi Tandon wrote this article with another colleague of hers, where they had done some survey among the insights community earlier this year, and only 8% of insights professionals felt that they were proficient in AI. This is primarily a US data point. I don't know what it is for Europe or anywhere else, but so I'll be curious to see this being expanded across other regions. But if it's 8%, there's a huge upside in terms of upskilling and reskilling our peers and our community, basically, simply because there is so much room for growth here. So education, I think, is going to be a big deal. So I'm going to use this as an opportunity now to pivot a little bit, Lyubov, if you're okay with it. You've mentioned Insights Lighthouse multiple times, so I want to now spend time talking about that. So before we go into what you're doing, give us a little bit of background first. What is Insights Lighthouse? You mentioned earlier, you started this with a few friends and colleagues, a couple of years ago. So what's the genesis of Insights Lighthouse? Why did you start it, and why now?
Um, it's a very good question. So obviously there is a story behind that, and it's a very personal project that it's based on my values to connect with people and to drive this connection. And probably 2 years ago there was a particularly need in connection and driving this human connection and exchange and tackle the challenges together, particularly after COVID. When many companies experiences difficulties, I was thinking how I gonna address it, and I was asking help and mentorship, and I was very proactive. That helped me and propelled my career because there were certain people behind me who were believing in me and who was supporting me behind the scenes. And then I was thinking, okay, so probably I was very proactive in asking help. Maybe others they are less proactive, and that would
Mhm.
affect their success on the ground. So why
Mhm.
don't we start creating the space for insights professionals, because the help is really needed. So, and then it started growing extremely fast. And we started with the small gathering, 35 people, and now we are gathering, 300, 400 people. And we are part and we are partners of the, big domains. So we recently established partnership with Consumers Electronic Show, and we are hosting a big event in Las Vegas. We are
Mhm.
running global shows and global gatherings, intimate and big, around the globe, opening the new chapters every month, every week. So it's growing because there is a need, and
Mhm.
I'm glad that this project helps and drives optimism among those who recently lost the job or who are struggling to deliver their work at the new frameworks or with the new management, because many
Mhm.
companies they are changing their C-suite and there is a big transformation that is hard to follow. So
Mhm.
I'm glad that it supports people, and this is very people-centric project, and it's very human-driven. I
Mhm.
think it stays relevant and it will stay relevant at the time of AI acceleration, because at the time of automation, we have to stay even more focused on humans, and
Mhm.
humans are our people who are our customers. And we need to understand better their needs, and the needs are changing by the minute, driven by the external factors that is hard to predict. So the life changed around us. So I think our job, what we started to talk today about, is it was much easier like 10, 20, 15 years ago, because
Mhm.
you can forecast, you can predict, and you can
Mhm.
rely on this prediction. Today you can, you cannot predict things. You should really change your modeling with the time, and it needs to be self-adaptable, and there are lots of information and massive amount of the data that you have to
Mhm.
define models, how to adapt and how to use, and how to change your business decision strategy. So it needs to be infused. And so the environment is challenging, and that requires, like you said, the new skills, and it requires lots of mentorship. And there are great leaders who are successfully doing this job, and they have lots of things to share. So it's exchange, and it's support, and it's very people-centric community that helps people to reach success. And
Mhm.
I believe everyone has an opportunity to be successful. It's just a matter of time and the right role and the right support. So to be successful today, you need to define your board of directors who supports you behind your scenes and helps you to take the right decisions for your own career. And
Mhm.
in Insights House, you can find this board of directors. So when we started the project,
Yeah.
the intimate fact about this project, and I want to share this today with you at your podcast, is that I think half of the group they were between the jobs and they were struggling, and that's why we started it. And
Mhm.
look at us now. So it's different, right? So many people they reimagine their careers, they find new destinations, they are growing, they are striving, they are acting on behalf of the new businesses, and now they are experts in the field and they're sharing that expertise. But it starts from struggle. It didn't start from, oh, I'm very smart. It didn't start from that. It started with the
Yeah.
big challenges.
Mhm.
So yeah, so Insights Lighthouse, it's a unicorn of insights industry crisis.
I love this. I love the fact that you of how you describe it. I can see even in the way you're talking about it, the passion and the energy that you're bringing into this. I can see it's really important to you, and it's really like something that you care about. I just love this as a concept. So um, you've been doing this for a couple of years, like you said. You've been expanding pretty aggressively over the last several months. I did not know about you until I want to say 4 months ago, or 5 months ago, when somebody said, "Hey, do you know about Insights Lighthouse?" I was like, "What's Insights Lighthouse?" So there's still a lot of upside in terms of awareness across the entire community. But um, talk to me a little bit about some of the events you've done this year already. I think were you already at Davos earlier this year, or Cannes? Well, it was one of those two you were at, right? If I'm not mistaken.
So Davos starts in the beginning of January. So we are just preparing our Davos. It starts 19th, and it's the week of 19th. It's the
Yeah.
full week, and we're gonna run our chief insights officer lunch in Belvedere Hotel on Monday, 19th of January, and then we're gonna have executive breakfast, and then we're gonna have the main event on 20th of January in the Hof Hotel.
Okay, perfect. So so that's in Davos, but before Davos is actually CES. So
Yes.
talk about CES first as well. Tell us what you're going to do at CES.
So, Consumers Electronics Show, I think that this is the right place to be for all insights professionals because we started with the technology, right? And we talked a lot
Mhm.
about what technology does. It
Yeah.
automates, it supports, it drives efficiency. But I
Hmm.
strongly believe in the human connection, and that's why you need to go there in person to experience technology and to connect with people and to learn from people how to
Hmm.
excel in what you are delivering with the help of the technology. And I also strongly committed to the opportunity to establish partnership. And it's not only about your partnership with another insights professionals working in another company, but it's a partnership between organizations. We can unlock innovation if we establish partnership with non-competitive organizations. And
Hmm.
establishing partnership is the way to grow at the
Hmm.
time of the crisis. So it's the time to meet representatives of the small unicorns so that you can adapt, you can potentially acquire. It's
Hmm.
the time to meet representatives from another businesses and establish the domains for collaboration for your organization. So I believe it's extremely critical from that standpoint. And then it's also fun because it's a very immersive experience to understand what happens in the world, what are the latest technological solutions, and
Hmm.
us needs to be there because based on our profession and background, we can articulate the consumer needs behind the technology. Technology itself cannot deliver the great results on the market. Let's talk as an example, right? So
Hmm.
Dyson.
Yep.
Similar approach for cleaning the floors have been developed like 10 or 15 years ago by another company, and they were not successful. They even decided not to launch it. And then Dyson came in, not only with the brilliant idea, but they also excelling by getting the feedback from people and perfecting all the necessary little details,
Hmm.
adjusting the product and the entire experience to the feedback of the people. That's what makes it successful. And then they creating the entire tribe of people who are using the product, and they're creating the right communication that resonates with people. So all the
Hmm.
pillars are developed carefully, putting the consumer in the center of the innovation and marketing and communication process. Who
Hmm.
could do that better than insights professionals?
Exactly.
So we have to be part of consumers' electronic show because technology without human touch, nothing, in my point of view.
Yep. No, you're right. And and it's funny you say that because I've been meaning to go to the CES conference for over a decade, and every time I had an opportunity, somehow the opportunity slipped out of my hands. Right. So this coming year is going to be my first time going. I'm super excited, and that's thanks to you, by the way, for inviting me to join you. But I've always felt the same thing as well because technology by itself is not going to do anything. It's going to be the human piece of it that really matters, and not having insights people there, in my opinion, is has always been a miss. So the fact that you saw this and you actually not only did you see it, but you actually did something about it, is so inspiring, at least to me. So and I hope others feel the same way as well because I think what will also happen coming out of the show, at least I sincerely hope people do this, everybody who shows up to the Insights Lighthouse events, is that not only do we experience the show together, we talk about it also on these platforms, whether it's LinkedIn or TikTok or Instagram or even on YouTube, having shorts and videos and posts and things like that will make a huge difference in helping others see why this is such a big deal. right? And to help, elevate the kind of points that you're just making right now, because I honestly believe that when people start connecting those dots through these kinds of events, that's when I think also magic will start happening. More people will start wanting to do these kinds of things as well, and they'll see the path that you're charting for everyone right now. So it's a journey, but I think the fact that you took that first step in the journey is absolutely incredible. So I want to just say thank you to you for taking that very big first step. Actually, so now you also mentioned Cannes. So I want to talk on all three of them. So you're the CES, there's Davos, and then Cannes as well. Is that correct?
Yes, so Davos happens before Cannes, so it happens in January 19th and 20th.
Yeah.
So, and this year we're going to unite predominantly American community at CES and
Okay.
predominantly European community in Davos. And
Hmm.
Cannes touches the unique angle, its effectiveness of communication and its
Hmm.
creativity. And it's
Hmm.
also a fun place to be.
Hmm.
So it's kind of the biggest forum of marketeers, and now we are part of the biggest forum of marketeers. So it would be third year to be there. So
Oh wow.
it's a big opportunity. But Cannes sounds a little bit distant in time. Between now and Cannes, it's still I think half a year to go. So our
Yeah.
key focus is to perfect the relationship with the new members and the new insights professionals who are joining us and
Yeah.
creating the presence at the two important domains during the World Economic Forum in Davos and during
Hmm.
the Consumers Electronics Show in Las Vegas, and it happens just right after the festive season. So it feels like it will happen tomorrow because literally this week we are closing all necessary tasks and everything, and then we're going to break for holiday, and then
Yeah.
we're going to see each other in Las Vegas. So the way how
Exactly.
the time accelerated after COVID, it's scary in my point of view.
No, no, I get that. But just so that I understand, because you said you already did Cannes the last couple of years. Could you just talk a little bit about what were your key insights coming out of those experiences?
So I think it's very critical to establish a relationship with the business leaders. If we want to lead, we have to partner with them, and we need to get their support. And in that particular case, we have a strategic choices by choosing the domains. So
Hmm.
Cannes Lions attracts um, sizable number of chief marketing officers, and they talk about creativity and the vision and the strategy. So that's the right place to be to address these points.
Hmm.
Davos, it's all about the economy and the transformation and the trends and predict the future and to be
Hmm.
alerted about the factors that we cannot handle and
Hmm.
like policies or taxes or external conflicts or polarization.
Hmm.
And CES, we already discussed, it's all about the technology.
Yeah.
So I think that these three domains are extremely complementary. And
Hmm.
Cannes, it's also a fun event because it's summer and it's in a fantastic place to
Location.
be. And
Yeah.
there are many things happening during Cannes Lions Festival. So many companies, they are hosting their small sub events and they're creating the environments for experimentation and
Mhm.
learning new things. So I'm actually looking forward to it as well.
Wow, amazing, amazing. I know there's a big event also that happens in, I think, Barcelona with the mobile conference or something. Have you all looked at that as an option also? I'm just curious.
Oh, for the moment, we looked at many things that is happening during the year, and we are discussing other things. But at the same time,
Mhm.
if you want to deliver good quality results, you have to stay focused. So for the
Mhm.
moment, we are focused on these three occasions, and
Okay.
potentially we're going to tell more about our private gatherings and open up our calendar of dinners and drinks that we are hosting. Around the year, around the globe. So we're going to do more things like that and focus also our attention to the new recently launched projects that I mentioned before. The
Yeah.
first one is mentorship program that is called the Insights Elevation Journey. So
Hmm.
this is a great program that allows to connect peers to peers and discuss business opportunities and opportunities to strategize career or anything, right? So we
Yeah.
created the framework, and we can match people based on their needs and
Hmm.
strengths. And
Hmm.
this participation in this project is complimentary; it's free of charge. So we try to democratize these opportunities to learn from another, from one another. The second project is the Learning Lab. In December, we launched it in London, so it's a face-to-face thing, and
Hmm.
we gathered 35 people and we educate them on the AI capabilities.
Hmm.
Ivan Terikov from Lufthansa company, he came and actually shared all his knowledge that he gained working for Lufthansa for the last decade, and put it in the framework that is easy to learn and to apply for the business.
Hmm.
So when I was exposed to his highlights, I was completely blown away, and I took several things. So this is really extreme opportunity to learn things that are very practical.
Yeah.
So that's really amazing. But I'm not advocating purely for the business leaders who educate the other business leaders. I'm also establishing partnership with the universities. So we partner with the Yale University, and we send our delegates in March to the course to learn more about insights capabilities and to connect with peers. And
Hmm.
that as exciting. This is as exciting as learning lab activations.
Yeah.
So in the end of the day, I believe all of us collectively, with the fantastic companies that were historically serving our industry, we need to create more opportunities for insights professionals to learn and to change, because the
Mhm.
change is required, and that's what we are trying to do.
That's amazing. I love both these initiatives, and I think, I can just see it, growing over time. Are you also looking for people to help you with that, or do you already have people identified for the next 6 to 12 months, or where are you in that process?
Obviously, I always open to receive and to give support and help. So
Hmm.
everyone who wants to talk to me about the projects or what I'm doing, so I'm open, and I can even share my contact details. So I'm very happy to connect and collaborate. So Insights Lighthouse operates with the board advisory group. We are 15 people in total, and then we have brand ambassadors. It's 20 people in around the globe, and the number of people are growing, and they are hosting the dinners and the gatherings. So there are
Hmm.
more chapters opened on a monthly basis. So if you want to start your chapter in your town, just let me know.
Amazing, amazing, amazing. I know we in Chicago we're starting it. We have a dinner coming up next week. In fact, I think there was one in Atlanta this week. So yeah, I'm certainly seeing the level of activity increasing significantly, at least in the U.S. market. I see also the posts in the community, in Europe, and also I think in Asia and Singapore. I think you had something going on too, not too long ago. So it's incredible how quickly it's this has become such a viral. Uh, you know, I don't want to call it activity. It's you're growing it really, thoughtfully, but there is a virality to what's going on here also, which I just absolutely love in terms of what's happening here. So this is just absolutely amazing, Lubov. So as you're looking forward now, you've said a few things already. I don't want to belabor the point there, but if there's one thing you could accomplish by the end of next year, call it your New Year's resolution for 2026, what would that one thing be?
So I think every year I'm trying to support several people to find their new career opportunities. And
Hmm.
this is mentorship, because I was mentored by great professionals. I started
Hmm.
my mentorship with several great individuals. Thank you, Kimfer, and thank you, Satya, if you listen in my podcast. So, and it's very critical to have someone who believed in you more than you believe in yourself, and to
Hmm.
to give credit up front. So, and they asked me to mentor back. So every year I'm taking several people. I'm trying to help them to find the better destinations in life. So I hope that I would be able to help them, and I hope that the number of people I can help will scale.
Mhm.
So that's probably would be my pure wish.
Amazing. What you're basically saying is you're paying it forward, and that's a value that I completely embrace as well, and I think uh, it's not just admirable. I think it's the right thing to do, and um, the way you're going about doing it, it's not just one on one. You're making it one to many, and that's the beautiful part of what you've actually accomplished, with Insights Lighthouse, in my opinion. You're helping so many people. You may not see it, immediately, but I can guarantee you, 3 years, 5 years, 10 years down the line, there'll be somebody else who will be inspired by you and will be wanting to take the initiative and take it, and move it forward and further as well. So, Lubov, you've done an incredible job here. So thank you so much for being on the podcast today. I personally learned a lot. I hope you've had an opportunity to
Thank
share
you.
what's on your mind. Is there anything I've not asked you that's top of mind for you that you would like to share?
How are you doing? What is on your side? What do you think about the industry? So we don't have space and time for many questions, but
Yeah.
what is your expectations from 2026?
My expectations. So I have two. The first one basically is that I'm actually launching a new company called Yogi AI early next year. It's based on an agentic workflow that I've built. I was prototyping it, earlier this year, and my goal is to, have that be adopted, and ideally, I'd like to grow it into something that's more sustainable, basically. So I've had two companies that have signed up already, even though we haven't launched officially yet. But I'm going through the process of getting all the paperwork completed with them. So that's an early signal for me that, there's value here, and I'd love to obviously see more companies, sign up. And it's, to our earlier part of the conversation, I see it as a value add. It's not an efficiency play, and it's not a market research play. It's actually a marketing play, quite frankly speaking, of what I'm building out. And then the second thing basically is personal growth and community building. So I like you. I'm also a big believer in community building, and there are different facets of it. So you've taken the role of playing the community builder for Insights. I'm playing the role with a couple of people in building it out among the South Asian community in marketing and Insights. We have a lot of people who work in the marketing space who are of South Asian origin, living all over the world, but we also don't have a community. So, we've initiated this process also, quite frankly, inspired by what I'm seeing from my Insights Lighthouse. We're taking a similar pathway in terms of starting to build it out. So when I talked about inspiration, I really meant it, because I'm actually acting on what you've started, actually, with a different community here. So for me, those are the two big things that I'm hoping to accomplish in 2026.
Okay, I wish you all the luck and tell me how can I help you.
Oh, thank you so much. And likewise, obviously I'm there to support you, and I will always will. So not only from a mentoring perspective, but also from an education perspective, having been a professor, at a university here in the US for the last couple of years, I think I know a few things here and there now on how to do training and, the educational things. So happy to support you in helping you build that kind of, program out as well. So, but no, thank you again. Just for everybody else, it's been an incredible year. 20 episodes have been done this year. You were number 20, Lubog. So, finding people to come in and talk is part of the challenge. It's not the biggest challenge, but it's definitely a challenge. But just being talking to incredible people over the year, learning from them and being able to share it with everybody, that's been like the biggest joy, for me personally. It's been a fun thing to do, but it's also been an educational component for me as well in doing this. So, to everyone who's been listening, thank you so much for your support. Thank you for listening to all the shows. You can find it on YouTube, you can find it on Substack, you can find it on Spotify, and here on LinkedIn as well. So, please give feedback. Tell us what you want to see next year. I haven't yet announced anything for 2026, but if there are people who wants to be on the show, reach out to me as well. We'll see what we can do. So, with that said, thank you again, everybody, and have a happy holidays.
Have a happy holidays and see you in Las Vegas.